All right, welcome. I'm Nikil. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Alchemy, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing and the vision of where Alchemy is going. This is an internal presentation that we gave to our team a few months ago, so it has a lot of memes, some jokes, some not very good jokes, and it's a little rough around the edges, and we'll make a more professional version of this, but here's a little sneak peek into life at Alchemy. So what is Alchemy? Alchemy is the leading blockchain developer platform. And what does that mean? Essentially, what we do is we make a product that enables people to create their own apps for the blockchain. And we'll talk a little bit about the history, why it's important, how we got here, and where we're going. So first, let's start off with blockchain. What is blockchain and why is it even important? So when you look at the past 50 years, there have been three major technology shifts that have defined our lives. First, the computer came along. And the computer gave you this new building block where now machines could follow human instructions. You could tell a machine, do this, and it would do it until it fell apart. So the second thing that came along was the internet. And this enabled a new building block also. And this let machines exchange information between each other. And this was completely game-changing. Third, blockchain came along. And what blockchain does is enables machines to exchange value. And this, again, is another fundamental building block like we've never seen before. And even when you think about things like artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence is a combination of machines following instructions and machines exchanging information. It's a very powerful field, but it's built on these two building blocks. And blockchain is the first new technological change to bring a new building block into the toolkit of people who are building software. So the fundamental challenge with any new industry is how does a new technology grow? And that technologies always follow this circle of life. Developers build products and users use those products, and then more developers come because they see people are using what they built. So when you see this circle of life, there's always a key challenge for any new industry. And that key challenge is it's difficult for developers to build products because the tools they have are really primitive in the early days. This was true for the computer, this is true for the internet, and this is also true for blockchain. In the early days of computers, you had to have these little big punch card things and physically lay them out and stack them in and put them into like this giant machine that was called a computer. Now you can just press a few buttons on this piece of metal sitting in front of you, and you can build a website that millions of people around the world use. So we've seen how far the tools for developers on the computing and internet industries came, and now Alchemy's mission, our whole mission as a company, is to make it easy for developers to build products. And the reason that this is really important is this is the Archimedes lever for the industry. And what that means is when you think about Archimedes had this quote where he said, give me a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And similarly, by enabling developers to build products, by giving them the tools and infrastructure they need, what we're doing is really opening up the whole ecosystem, because now people can build great products, so more users will come and more developers come, and so on and so forth. So what is the big challenge for blockchain developers? The challenge is developing a blockchain looks like this. It's kind of like building a website in 1991. So you think I'm joking, but I'm not. This is actually what it looks like. A lot of terminal, a lot of green, a lot of coding. So fundamentally, if you have primitive tools and you're trying to build a building, you can build a mud hut, right? If you have a stone hammer and a stone chisel. But once you get construction equipment, you're able to build skyscrapers. And what Alchemy's goal is to enable the builders to bring the magic of blockchain to the world. So at a very high level, let's talk about historically how these industries have evolved. So the memes are going to start for those of you Back to the Future fans. Looking back at history, looking at the computer, you had the computing industry formed in a three-layer stack. At the very bottom, you had this protocol, and that protocol was the RAM, the CPU, the hard drive, the physical components that made up a computer. The challenge was it was very, very difficult to code and build applications for that kind of hardware layer because you had to write in computer language in ones and zeros, right? So you couldn't make things like Excel, Word, Chrome, which are what we know as a computer today. The innovation happened when Microsoft Windows and Apple Mac OS created the operating system. And what the operating system fundamentally does, it's something that, for most of us in our daily lives, we don't even think about because it's just in the background. But what it does is it abstracts away the underlying hardware and makes it really easy for developers to build applications on top of this. So think of it as a translation layer on top of the hardware that unlocks the power of the hardware for the developers, but makes their lives easy and enables them to create these applications. And as you look at this, you see that this actually fuels the cycle of innovation in the industry, because now developers can build products, so more users come, so more developers build more applications, and the operating system gets better, and more applications are built, and so on and so forth. When you look at the internet, you see a very similar layout, where at the very bottom, there's your protocol, which is your HTTP, FTP, SMTP. For those of you who may not be familiar, these are the core technologies that run the internet. But in order to build Netflix or Uber or Pinterest, that's not Parler. Parler is not on the internet anymore. Whole another story for another time. But AWS is Amazon Web Services, and Amazon Web Services is the abstraction layer on top of these technologies that enables it to these applications to be built. One really interesting thing to note is, for those of you who may not be familiar with Amazon Web Services, Amazon actually has two businesses. One business is a shopping business where you can go and buy things. This is what most of us think of Amazon as. Amazon actually has this other business that most people don't know about, which is called Amazon Web Services. What Amazon Web Services does is it is the infrastructure layer that powers most of the internet. Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, DoorDash, Snapchat, whatever. All these companies use Amazon Web Services or similar technology underneath the hood to build their applications. So every time you open Uber, you're actually using Amazon Web Services. So Amazon Web Services alone is $1 trillion business. So it shows you how big the industry and the opportunity there is. And the crazy part is 2/3 of Amazon's profits actually come from Amazon Web Services, and only 1/3 comes from the retail and shopping business. So it shows you how important this layer is in growing the internet and enabling that industry. Similarly, when you look at blockchain, Alchemy is that platform layer. There's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, there's Flow, there's all these different blockchains. And Alchemy is providing the developer tools and the infrastructure needed to access these technologies. So essentially what we do is we make it easy for developers to build on the blockchain. And this enables a whole broad set of industries, of specific verticals in this industry to come up. And what you'll see is Alchemy powers centralized exchanges, basically a huge chunk of the NFT industry. For those of you who are familiar with NFTs, like the Beeple art sale, the Patrick Mahomes NFT, and a lot of financial applications. And these are just a couple examples. Just like the internet, Amazon Web Services powers food delivery and ride sharing and video streaming and things like YouTube and DoorDash and Uber. Alchemy powers a broad section of crypto, everything from centralized exchanges to decentralized finance to NFTs to companies like UNICEF, organizations like UNICEF in all corners of the globe. So Alchemy, at a very high level, is this developer platform that enables people to create applications. One really interesting thing to think about is if you look at developer platforms. So developer platforms is this layer right here we saw with Windows and AWS and Alchemy. Developer platforms are one tiny piece of the computer and internet industries, which are one tiny piece of technology industries, which are one tiny piece of all industries in the world. And even though this is one tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of all the industries in the world, what we see here is the most valuable companies on earth and the most impactful. If you look at these, got more memes, unless you are a Saudi prince, which I'm not, even if it looks like I am, the biggest way you can have broad impact on the planet is build a developer platform. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. These are 3 of the 4 most valuable companies on the planet, and they're all developer platforms. And you can argue that, Alphabet, Tencent, Facebook, these all have segments of their companies which are developer platforms, which fundamentally, the core nature of a developer platform is it enables people to build applications on top of that technology. So you can see here, as blockchain grows, if blockchain grows to even a fraction of the size of the internet, which is obviously what we believe, and we believe could even potentially be as big as the internet, then we have a chance to really help create this movement and bring this technology to the world, which is why it's so exciting. One other thing to understand is developer platforms index the industry, right? So Alchemy's success is not dependent on NFTs being successful or finance being successful, similar to how Amazon doesn't need ride sharing to be successful or food delivery to be successful. If anything in the industry succeeds, Amazon Web Services has a chance to succeed. Same thing with Alchemy. If anything in blockchain succeeds, Alchemy has a chance to really build a meaningful impact for the world. A couple numbers we'll dive through. So Alchemy powers a large chunk of the top companies in the crypto space. For those of you familiar with crypto, you'll recognize a lot of these names, some of our favorite customers, Makers, 0x, Yearn, Graph, SushiSwap. We've been really, really lucky to work with some of the best and brightest teams in the space who are really pushing forward the ecosystem and bringing this new technology to the world. We do about over $30 billion, but this is the public number right now, $30 billion in on-chain transactions annually, empowering tens of millions of end users in virtually every single country in the world. And this has been both a challenge and a really, really exciting journey to get to this point, and we're just getting started. Another quick thing to understand is Alchemy is not like this little widget you drop on your webpage. Fundamentally, every time you open any one of these crypto products, you're interacting with Alchemy behind the hood. And that's what's powering that technology. So we power all the major NFT platforms. Like we said before, the $69 million Beeple sale, a lot of these like artists and athlete sales and musicians all run through Alchemy. We power also over 60% of the top Ethereum applications, and Ethereum has one of the largest developer communities right now. And we also power the majority of decentralized finance, and we estimate about 60% of Ethereum users in 2020 use products that are powered by Alchemy. One thing to note is Alchemy is supporting multiple chains right now. This is just one of the chains for an example to give you a sense of how we are and how we're growing. Finally, the last bit is this is our big vision. When you really think about what the blockchain industry can do for the world in terms of democratizing access to financial services and developing new technologies and creating new experiences that weren't possible before, like NFTs, this is a really, really, really exciting space. It's like we're in 1991 and get to build the internet from scratch. And the team at Alchemy is just so humbled and honored to have the chance to be part of this. And we come to work every day and live and sleep and eat and breathe to enable our developers to build a great product. So if you're a blockchain developer and you want to use Alchemy, hit us up. We'd love to hear from you.